Hello, and welcome to Scream Scene, the horror movie podcast where we watch every horror movie ever made in chronological order, and then we rank them from best to worst. My name's Ben.
And I'm Sarah.
Thank you for listening to us today. How are you doing today, Sarah?
Today was a lot of conversations with friends and lots of open communication.
Lots of driving around.
Lots of driving
in
around.
Snowy conditions.
For those conversations. You know, people will ask, what's the secret to a happy marriage? And often the core answer to that is communication. The flip side of that being listening to that communication. But it's not just marriage. It's all relationships.
Yes.
Where communication is key. And today is a great example of that. Oh, I don't want to give like the wrong idea that like everything's in turmoil. These were good conversations. It was just a lot in one day.
Sure.
I'm usually a humbug. How was your day, Ben?
Well, recently, Calgary Cinematheque, which is who I work for, put on a rather big show of the Lon Chaney Phantom of the Opera.
Mm-hmm. It was really good.
It was the 100th anniversary screening. We partnered with the National Music Center. We had live music on a theater organ with like a new score that was composed for this screening. There was a new reconstruction, restoration of the movie that I did for this screening. I talk about it in a Patreon bonus feature that you can go listen to if you're on our Patreon. It was a big deal. And it was a sold out show, and we had a great audience, and it went really well. And then my body was like, cool, so this thing that you've been working on for 3 months or more is over now. So we're going to put your immune system on leave, and they're going to go take their time off, and you're going to get sick.
Yeah.
So right now I'm sick, and you can probably hear it in my voice.
I would say it sounds a little bit more raspy. Maybe people can hear, you know, your blocked sinuses, but you don't sound too bad.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's how I'm doing. I'm sick.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Well, what are we watching today? Maybe it will help you feel better?
Almost assuredly not. I don't have high hopes for this one, Sarah. We are watching Hand of Death from 1962, directed by Gene Nelson. And if that title sounds like a martial arts movie from the 70s, that's because it is. There's a movie from 1976 that's a kung fu movie called Hand of Death.
Okay. Is Bruce Lee? No, Bruce Lee. I would know if Bruce Lee was in it.
This movie was shot with an alternate title, Five Fingers of Death. But it was.
But you only have 4 fingers.
Yeah, so they released it as Hand of Death. I bring that up because Five Fingers of Death is also the title of a 1972 kung fu movie. So, like...
Isn't there also a horror movie with Peter Lorre?
You're thinking of The Beast with Five Fingers.
Yes, I am. Yep.
Anyways, this movie's called Hand of Death, which really doesn't tell you what this movie is very well. And our first bad sign is that no one will take credit for where the idea of this movie came from.
Classic.
I suspect it's writer Harry Spalding, who often worked for Robert Lippert. But the story that Spalding tells about how this movie came to be doesn't include him as being the one who wrote it. But I saw in multiple places his name listed as like an uncredited writer on this. So that's where my suspicion comes from. Regardless, the basic idea for Hand of Death is a rather old-fashioned story. It's about a scientist who is working on experimental science stuff, and it accidentally transforms him into a monster, and then he runs amok until he is, chased down and defeated.
Okay.
Very old-fashioned idea.
I've seen this quite often.
Yeah, it was originally pitched to 20th Century Fox, and they passed on it. But they passed it over to Associated Producers Incorporated, Associated Productions, which was Robert Lippert's B-movie production company, which we've talked about on the show before. and basically like existed to make B movies that would then get paired with 20th Century Fox A pictures for distribution. So by 1962, Lippert kind of found his business at a bit of a crossroads. Not only had television severely cut into the audience for B movies, but as more corporate entities were starting to become involved in movie making, this was the era when like East Coast banks and holding companies and people started like buying movie studios and creating these kind of more like complicated corporate structures. The rising overhead combined with declining audiences was really making the business much less lucrative. Additionally, due to these rising costs and everything, 20th Century Fox was cutting back on a picture production, right? So instead of having like a major studio put out like 52 movies in a year, like we're getting less and less like A pictures. And because there's less and less A pictures, that means there's less and less demand for B pictures to partner them up with.
At what point, this is a bit of a tangent, at what point do made-for-TV movies kind of begin?
That's already started to happen by this point, which is another thing that's like super cutting into B pictures because you can just do this stuff for TV now.
Yeah, and justify a much smaller budget.
Yeah, and so in 1962, Lippert announced that he would be moving to Europe to continue producing pictures there where the economics of B movies still made sense. But that has not happened yet. This was produced in America for 20th Century Fox, but like later this year, Lippert basically gives up on this kind of thing and packs his bags and goes to Europe where, as we've seen, there seems to still be a booming industry for cheap, B movies.
I almost wonder if that's related to, like, there's a lot more of an economic boom in the US. We've talked about it in Japan and Spain, but continental Europe, I mean, I guess it's like just over a decade past the war, but maybe not as many people have TVs, so theaters are still kind of having that niche.
Oh, absolutely. Like, this whole problem ends up coming to the Japanese film industry, to the European film industry eventually once television becomes more widespread in those places as well. Anyways, Lippert produced Hand of Death, and Eugene Ling was assigned to write the script and produce the picture because Lippert owed him a favor. They had a difficult time finding a director because the script was so bad.
Oh no, not even like a newbie?
So eventually what they got was actor Gene Nelson, who was looking to get into directing. So Lippert gave the picture to him.
Oh no.
So Gene Nelson had been an actor in like comedies and musicals primarily, but at this point in his life, he was 42 years old. So, the like romantic leads in comedies and musicals weren't really coming to him anymore. And he was looking to transition his career. And thought like directing would be a good way to do that. And so this is his first feature film. He would direct others as well as like episodes of TV. He directed one episode of the original Star Trek. He directed Gamesters of Triskelion.
Oh, that's a great one.
But he only did one episode, so he clearly like wasn't invited back.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah.
You kind of want to get on a weekly show.
Yeah. And Star Trek kind of had like a rotation of regular directors. Anyways, Hand of Death was shot in 7 days in Malibu and Santa Monica with cinematography by our favorite slumming old master, Floyd Crosby.
I mean, he produces good work.
Mm-hmm. I would say that if this movie has a selling point, it would be that it managed to put together like a pretty notable cast. Not like good big name stars, just like a bunch of interesting people. The movie stars John Agar, who we last saw in Daughter of Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah, I remember that name.
As a refresher, Agar was born in Chicago in 1921 and served in the Air Corps during World War II. And he began dating Shirley Temple in 1943 and married her in 1945. He was 7 years her senior, and marrying her got him an acting contract with her boss, David O. Selznick. And he began appearing in a series of John Wayne pictures to great success. Fort Apache, She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, and Sands of Iwo Jima. Wayne got Agar into booze and cigarettes, and he quickly became an alcoholic, being arrested for drunk driving in 1950. Temple left him later that same year, and Agar remarried in 1951, but his alcoholism proved damaging to his career as well. He got a contract with Universal in 1954, and we first saw him in Revenge of the Creature.
Mm-hmm.
He also appeared in Tarantula and The Mole People. When he complained about appearing in science fiction films, Universal dropped him from his contract.
Did we watch Mole People?
We did, yes.
Because it
didn't rank.
Yeah, because I have a vague recollection of it.
Yeah. Being dropped from his Universal contract did lead to him taking more sci-fi roles, the thing that he complained about, because that's just what like the B-movie genre of the era was. So he appeared in Daughter of Dr. Jekyll, also Brain from Planet Arouse, Attack of the Puppet People, Invisible Invaders, and Journey to the Seventh Planet. By the late 1960s, so after this film, he was appearing in Larry Buchanan's ultra-cheap TV movies for AIP, which we've talked about on the show before. And he fell far enough that he became drinking buddies with Ed Wood.
Oh, no.
And one day, when Wood was watching an afternoon news show that announced Agar had passed away, he called them to say, he's alive. He's sitting with me right now in my apartment. And the news show had to withdraw the story.
Oh, so even back then they had celebrity death hoaxes.
Yes. Ultimately, Agar did outlive Wood, passing away in 2002 from emphysema after living the last year or so of his life in an iron lung.
Oh, wow.
Our lead actress here, Paula Raymond, was a model turned leading lady who was once being positioned as the next Norma Shearer. Born in San Francisco in 1924, she began acting on film in 1938, and in 1950, she signed a contract with MGM and appeared opposite Cary Grant in Crisis. So they were really going to launch her into the big time with this movie. Unfortunately, Crisis was a loss for MGM at the box office, and Raymond's star fell rapidly thereafter. She appeared in The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms in 1953, and then she made the mistake of turning down the iconic role of Miss Kitty on the TV show Gunsmoke, which would then run for the next 20 years. She didn't want to be like a low-down saloon owner role week in, week out, and then the show came on and Miss Kitty's everyone's favorite character, and she super regretted it for the rest of her life. By the late 50s and early 60s, she was relegated to guest roles on TV and low-budget films such as this. After shooting Wrapped on Hand of Death, Raymond was in a car crash. Her car hit a tree and her nose was severed by the rearview mirror.
Oh, whoa.
She underwent over a year of plastic surgery and recovery before returning to acting. Her luck didn't really get much better after that. She got a part on, I think, Days of Our Lives, but she broke her ankle in 1977, and they wrote her character off of the show. Then she would later break both of her hips in 1984. She broke her shoulder in 1994. Her daughter passed away in 1993. And finally, she herself passed away in 2003 of respiratory ailments. So...
Lots of bad luck there.
Yeah, so things don't really go great for Paula Raymond after this movie. A minor role in this film of Carlos, the lab assistant, is played by a nothing actor, not noteworthy in any way, named John A. Alonzo, who would also appear in a very minor role in a movie called The Magnificent Seven. And he was so inspired by meeting cinematographer Charles Lang on that movie that he ended up switching careers and becoming a cinematographer. And John A. Alonzo is a, no-name actor, but he's a big-name cinematographer. He went on to shoot such classics as Vanishing Point, Chinatown, and Scarface.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, original Scarface or...
No, not the 1920-something Scarface, the not the 1932 Scarface, the 80s one.
Sorry.
Yeah. No time machine.
Well, no, I forgot when we were.
Yep. It's fine. But yeah, so future master cinematographer John Alonzo appears as a lab assistant in this movie.
Yeah.
Comedian Joe Besser, who is best known for a brief stint as one of the Three Stooges from 1957 to 1959.
They weren't all the same guys?
So the famous Three Stooges are like Larry,
Curly, and Moe.
That's right. So Curly died. And so Larry and Moe were the only like constants, actually. So the classics are those three, but like Curly died and was replaced with Shemp. And Shemp, I think, is actually in more shorts than Curly, if I'm remembering correctly. And then Shemp died, and he died in such a way that I guess like they had a contract that was like the three of them, including Shemp, were supposed to deliver like X number more shorts. And they, for some money reason that I'm not remembering because I'm not a huge Three Stooges person, like they couldn't admit that Shemp was dead until they'd like finished out the like 4 more shorts or whatever they needed on that contract. So I forget his name, but they brought some guy in to essentially be like a double for Shemp, kind of like Bela Lugosi in Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Yeah.
And I forget that guy's real name, but he is commonly referred to by Stooges fans as Fake Shemp. Which then led to, if you're a big fan of Sam Raimi's movies like Evil Dead or whatever, he always credits stand-ins and doubles in his movies as fake Shemps. Anyways.
Like fake Shemp.
Like
fake Shemp number 1?
No. Like instead of like having a credit that's like doubles or stand-ins, it just says like fake Shemps, and then there's the list of people.
They wouldn't be listed by character name?
We're getting into the weeds here.
I'm sorry.
This isn't important.
Okay, sorry. Let's
What's
move on.
important is that after they were able to like admit that Shemp was dead, they brought in Joe Besser. Joe appeared with them for, I think, 2 years. He's not very well regarded as a stooge. He didn't really fit well into the act. And then he was later replaced by another guy named Curly Joe for like the final batch of shorts before they finally like stopped making them in the early 60s. Anyways, Joe Besser appears in this movie as a gas station attendant. So this is after his period as a stooge. This is after he was a stooge. He appears in this movie as a gas station attendant. And then child actor Butch Patrick, who is best known as Eddie Munster, appears as a young boy on the beach.
Okay.
So we have a lot of people in the cast who are like, oh, this person and that person. The homicide detective in this movie is played by Norman Burton, who's best known to sci-fi fans as the first ape that you see in Planet of the Apes, like one of the gorillas leading the hunt, like riding the horses, with that like snap zoom when they like turn around, you know? And then he also is known to James Bond fans as Felix Leiter in Diamonds Are Forever.
One of the many lighters.
One of the many lighters, yes.
I feel so silly not knowing that the Three Stooges had a rotating guy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not... I don't think you should feel too silly about it, especially nowadays that, like, it used to be that, like, the Three Stooges shorts got rerun on TV constantly. Mm-hmm. And so I think there was, like, more awareness about this, especially, like, if you grew up in a period where, like, in the 50s, like, Curly was dead and you would be getting new Stooges content with the other people. But, like, somewhere along the way, the Larry Curly Moe era became, like, the classic era and the one that, like, got shown again and again the most, I think. So I think, you know, it's totally understandable. I actually really only know all the trivia about Shemp Howard and the fake Shemps and everything I was just trying to explain to you because of being a fan of Evil Dead first and like being like, what the fuck is a fake Shemp? Like looking at the credits and having to like dig up that story. Anyways, it is kind of weird because, well, whatever, it's not important. What is important is the scientist's movie turns into a monster.
Yeah.
The monster makeup here was created by Bob Mark, and a lot of people have remarked upon the fact that it looks a lot like Jack Kirby's design for The Thing in Fantastic Four comics.
Those have been going since, I want to say, like the 40s or the 50s?
No, you're very off, unfortunately.
Oh, well, tell me. I'm actually me.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four started in September of 1961.
Okay, so fairly recent.
Yeah, and because they weren't initially monthly, only 3 issues had come out by the time like this movie was made. So
maybe.
So like, yeah, it's like possible that Bob Mark was inspired by The Thing, But we definitely know that Kirby wasn't inspired by this movie, because this movie definitely came out after the Fantastic Four comics started coming out. This resemblance between the two monsters is amplified by the monster being colored orange on the posters for this movie. But in the movie itself, the monster is black, because this is a black and white movie. It's in CinemaScope, but it's a black and white movie. And the choice of making the monster black is a little unfortunate, because I want you to imagine.
No, I can imagine it.
I want you to imagine the Thing.
Yeah.
In your mind.
Yeah.
I want you to imagine if he's black.
Yep.
The monster in the movie ends up really looking like a very grotesque racial caricature.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. Probably not intentional.
Yeah, that is going to be my follow-up question of, like, would it have been intentional? And then when they were doing the marketing, they were like, oh no, we're in the 60s now. We can't get away with this. And then colored him orange.
Yeah, like, having not seen the movie, I'm pretty sure the movie isn't, like, about racial themes, or, like, I don't think the monster is presented as, like, a de-evolution like we've seen with, like, ape-like monsters in other movies where there's been uncomfortable racial subtext. Like, I think it's just, like, they made him, like, a rock man, and then it's a black and white movie. So I think it's unintentional, but it looks bad. Like, having seen screenshots of what this monster looks like, it looks bad.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. That prompts a question in my mind.
Yeah.
That you might not have the answer to. What is the state of, let me back up. Films used to be segregated.
Right.
These are black films, those are white films, and that kind of came about because of the code bit.
Yeah.
What's the status of, like, is that still happening? Are they becoming desegregated, like the film production of them?
So I think what you end up having happen is desegregation laws sort of rolling out through the South in the throughout like the 50s and so on, and into the 60s, and the rise of the civil rights movement and all of that. And there's sort of like desegregation ends up being kind of like a double-edged sword in a way, where you no longer have this like separate but equal kind of like thing going on. But that means that then, like, if black theaters can't only show black movies, like if everyone's taking all the different kinds of film, the lower budget, lower resources African American films that were being produced like can't directly compete with like Hollywood movies.
Yeah, they kind of lose their foothold.
Right, exactly. And you see like a decline in those films like in general, and they just get like kind of pushed out. But at the same time, you see Hollywood responding to the civil rights movement by like bringing in more African-American like actors and characters very slowly through the 60s. And then you get like the blaxploitation movement in the 70s. So it's all a little complicated.
Yeah. That's obviously a tangent from this movie.
Yes, which has nothing to do with the civil rights movement. Hand of Death was released March 1st, 1962, to negative reviews. It was called by Box Office Magazine, quote, program filler from the word go. And it was criticized for its old-fashioned plot, which audiences had seen so many times before. It underperformed at the box office, and after...
Is it possible to underperform when you didn't really have many expectations placed upon you?
Mm-hmm. After some initial showings on TV in the 60s and 70s, the distribution rights lapsed because, of course, Fox distributed the movie, and although Lippert's company was kind of like they weren't really a subsidiary of Fox. They were like a contractor. And yeah, they made all their movies for Fox, but they were still a separate corporate entity. So Fox let the distribution rights lapse. But by the early 80s, like Lippert's company didn't exist anymore. So the film just kind of fell into limbo at that time, and it remained unseen until it was released on DVD in 2015 by the Willett Acquisition Corporation.
Who probably just bought a bunch of random titles.
Yes.
I'm sure that release is just super high quality, tons of special features.
Yeah, so that's kind of the deal with this movie. Critically panned, box office disappointment. The corporate entities involved forgot it existed, and nobody saw it again until 2015.
And now in 2025. Great. Well, folks, I don't know if you want to try to find a copy to watch along. Maybe wait till after the intermission to see what we think. You're going to hear a brief musical interlude, and when we come back, we will discuss Hand of Death from 1962, directed by Gene Nelson.
See you on the other side, everybody.
Welcome back to Scream Scene. We just finished watching Hand of Death from 1962, directed by Gene Nelson. Ben, first thoughts?
This is bad.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
Quite bad.
Yep.
It's not the worst we've seen.
Sure. Well, I mean, listen, we'll get to that part of the episode.
I think the score was good. You know,
Sure.
look on the bright side.
Yeah. Sonny Burke, a big band, jazz band leader in LA at the time.
Yeah. It made it bearable. Always got to look on the bright side. Well, why don't I dig in?
Sure.
I suppose with that kind of introduction, listener, you know you don't need to go out and try to find this to watch it. So we will spare you wasting an hour. The movie follows Alex Marsh. He is a scientist, and he is working on trying to develop a nerve gas that is intended to knock out and then hypnotize its target. He's working on this with his assistant Carlos, and ultimately he hopes that this can basically replace nuclear bombs so that there are no human casualties.
It's like the concept is basically to roofie a country.
And then make them susceptible to suggestion. So as you set up your new HQs, everyone will just go along with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what if you could paralyze the entire country and then hypnotize them into being okay with occupation?
Yeah. It's not great.
Nah, yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm. One character calls it immoral.
Very much so. Now, as
But it's the Cold War, damn it.
Yeah. As they are doing some of these tests, a mailman accidentally stumbles upon the experiment, and it turns out he's okay. But that allows them to confirm that this compound works for humans and doesn't have any ill effects that they can tell.
Yeah, other than the intended ones.
Yeah, well, it's not like, oh, oops, they exploded.
Yeah.
So Alex goes and he tells his mentor, Dr. Ramsey, and colleague Tom about this experiment and compound. And this is much to the dismay of his girlfriend, Carol, who also happens to be Ramsey's secretary. This is the first that these three folks are hearing about this experiment and plan and everything. And Carol is the one who calls it immoral to both be working on a weapon because war is bad, but also just the nature of it as well.
Yeah, that's the weird part is he doesn't work. At least it doesn't seem like he works for a weapons lab.
Yeah, he's just doing this for fun.
Yeah, the implication is that he was studying cacti in the desert, and then I guess found a chemical while doing that just happened to have this effect, and now he's oh, this would be a brilliant weapon to sell to the government. That's kind of the train of thought.
Yeah. Despite Carol's initial feelings about her boyfriend making a weapon, she thinks that it'll be okay because afterwards they'll get married. So Alex is working away and he kind of fucks up. So they're working with gases in a room that has no fucking ventilation. He doesn't use the proper PPE. It's just bad. And so he ends up spilling some of this compound on himself. And he, kind of passes out, has some weird dreams. And when he wakes up, he finds that it's kind of darkened his skin, kind of into a bit of like a dark tan. He's like, huh, that's weird. But then when he touches Carlos, the assistant, Carlos dies immediately. Just dies.
It's almost as if he has
a hand of death.
Except he has two hands of death.
He has two hands.
It's a bad title.
What is cool is like after he touches Carlos, there's like a burned handprint on Carlos.
Yeah.
Some future victims also fully wither up and die looking like burned charcoal or something. But it's cool. Now, Alex, he freaks out and it just immediately packs his bags, blows up the lab, and hightails it out of there to go hide out at Dr. Ramsey's house.
Yeah, the speed at which Alex was ready to cover up a murder scene is like one of the first like really like, whoa, what the fuck moments in this movie. Because it's like he's touched Carlos and accidentally killed him. It's a lab accident. Does he call the hospital? Does he inform the police? Does he like take things slow? No, he's immediately like, well, gotta cover this up. And like, yeah, packs his bags, douses the place in oil, and
bye.
And lights it on fire and leaves. Yeah, it's like, I'm surprised he went to Dr. Ramsey's house. I'm surprised he didn't just like go to, New York and get a job at an ad agency.
Pull a Dick Whitman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised by how much this didn't happen.
Yeah, so he ends up going to Dr. Ramsey's place because Dr. Ramsey, he's not like a medical doctor, but he has done research. In fact, it's established that his past work is around vaccines. And so he's hoping that Dr. Ramsey is able to come up with some kind of serum that can help him. Alex's theory about why he himself isn't immediately dead is because he must have developed a level of immunity because of a slow exposure to the chemicals.
The Barzini defense.
Is that real? What is that?
No, that's Wallace Shawn's character in The Princess Bride.
Oh, no, Vizzini. His name is Vizzini. Hold for fact check.
No, you're correct. It's Vizzini.
Hell yeah.
Who's Barzini? Anyways.
I have no idea who Barzini is. I was really confused. I was like, is that a real dude?
I'm sick.
Sick in the head. Because it's a head cold. We can have fun here. It's a bad movie, so we have to provide the entertainment. Mm-hmm. So Ramsey and Carol and eventually Tom are all brought in to work on developing a serum to reverse the effects on Alex.
Hey, what's Tom's full name, by the way?
Tom Holland.
Damn that Tom Holland.
I do say that. It's really fun. But their experiments with serums kind of backfire a little bit because Alex's hands and face and kind of entire body start to swell, and he develops this like black-like skin that looks burned like charcoal. So that's the effect that they're going for. When you see the poster and it looks like The Thing, it's because they're going for, I guess charcoal's a rock, but they're going for charcoal, not like cracked rock like you see with The Thing.
Yeah, it's the fact that they colored him orange on the poster it's actually textual in the movie that he's black. It's not just like an effect of the black and white filming, because they say it looks like charcoal, that it looks like he's burnt, right?
Yeah. I mean, I took a look at the poster and it kind of looks more like brown. And if you know your color theory, orange is just a light brown.
Yes.
But in any case, that's, now he has turned into a full monster instead of just a hand of death.
Who unfortunately has like large lips and a large nose and like, yeah, it's not great, folks.
It's not great. Textually, it also means that he can't really speak. So people can't really understand him. Now, he accidentally kills Ramsey and then decides like, oh, fuck, I gotta run off again. So he puts on a hat and a trench coat and is now on the run.
Classic monster behavior.
100%. While on the run, he ends up making his way down Malibu Beach to Tom's beach home in hopes for like the serum that will maybe help. Unfortunately, Carol was sent to the beach house for protection, and so now she is under threat. The cops show up, Tom shows up, and I think seeing Tom and Carol together kind of causes Alex to get a little mad. So when he kind of approaches them menacingly, he gets immediately shot by a police officer.
One time
And is immediately dead because he's just a guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a guy with a skin condition.
Yep.
The end.
So as you can probably tell from that plot synopsis, there's not a whole lot to this movie.
No, they do their best to fill it with pointless dialogue and lots of like back and forth between the characters that makes them all sound like meanie heads. Lots of like extraneous like, oh, now we're driving to this place.
Yeah. A lot of classic low budget, like stretch out time kind of strategies. The main thing is this is an hour long and it takes, I think, 35 or 40 minutes for him to turn into the monster.
Yeah.
So like that's a big problem. There's enough buildup that you'd think that it was a 90-minute movie, but it's a 60-minute movie.
Because there's no story here.
Right. So the thing that really makes this fall flat on its face is once he is the monster, the story has nowhere to go, which is probably a budget thing because you get the feeling that like there was just no way to escalate the story. Like ideally what you want is guy becomes monster, goes on the run, monster rampages in a way that like causes a large problem that brings like escalates the situation to bring in like the police or the military or whatever. And then like there's a final showdown. And one of the biggest problems with Alex as a monster is
he kills accidentally.
Right. Like his touch will kill you, which means that all you need to do to not die is not be touched by him. And because he looks terrifying, people run away anyway. And in most cases, he doesn't want to kill people. So the only times he kills anyone are either on accident or there's one time where he kills a taxi driver on purpose because the cab driver like wouldn't give him a ride because he looked weird.
Yeah, he was being racist, so he did deserve it.
I mean, he was being maybe ableist or something, like refusing service to like some guy with a horrible skin condition. So that's the other thing is like, as a monster, he also is bad because the cop just shoots him one time and he's dead. Like there's no, yes, he's a big problem. Like he is a threat because his touch will insta-kill people. And he has killed multiple people already by the time the cops take him down. But it's such a like damp squib of an ending. It's such a nothing ending. Like he just falls into the beach water and then everyone just walks away. There isn't even like a final like, oh, what a tragedy. You know, Alex could have been a brilliant man if he hadn't meddled where God didn't mean man to meddle or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no like summation of the theme. It's just the cops being like, well, I guess we better get a rubber sheet to wrap him in when we put him in the death wagon.
The other thing is that the series of serum experiments to try to cure him are all done basically off screen and are just handled in dialogue scenes between Carol and Ramsey in like two different scenes that are back to back. And we could have had something kind of exciting with like a montage of like them doing science or something and like, ooh, fast-paced music. Like, oh, because we are on a bit of a ticking time because we want to save Alex before he himself succumbs to the poison. And it doesn't do that. And I don't know if that would have been a budget thing, probably, but it really slows down and draws out that first half hour.
Yeah, I think you said while we were watching it that the movie was definitely a fan of telling rather than showing. We have essentially 4 actual characters and then a bunch of like bit parts. And so many times this movie will cut from 2 people talking to those same 2 people talking in either a different location or slightly later in the day.
Yeah.
Rather than like show us what they got up to in the middle. It's definitely got first time director vibes.
Yes, but you can tell that, the cinematographer, he might be asleep at the wheel, but even then, like, there's some good stuff here. There's a lot of moving camera. And I would argue that Hand of Death is an example of you're so cheap that you have to shoot on location, and then that benefits the movie of when Alex is on the run and he's running around real streets, running down the real beach.
Yeah.
He's really driving, as dangerous as that is, because he can't fucking see. I think the movie does benefit from that than if it was just all on like a soundstage.
That's true, but the director doesn't really know like how to frame anything interestingly.
For sure.
And it's a lot of like, I think first time movie mistakes of just like have 2 people in a room talk about the plot.
How much of that is on the director versus the writer?
To be fair, it's not the same person in this case. The writer's the producer here, but like it's just the movie doesn't do anything interesting with any of it, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of running down the beach, poor John Agar, who, when I gave my little recap about him earlier in the episode, I did forget to recap that he looks exactly like Michael Keaton, a thing that strikes us every time we watch one of his movies. He's like if Michael Keaton acted like Kirk Douglas.
But bad.
Yeah. But yeah, poor guy, because that is him in this like monster outfit, costume, makeup, whatever, that covers his whole face and his hands. I do like that he still has hair. That's like a fun little detail.
It's kind of like a mascot head where people who are in the mascot costume, they have to look out through the mouth. So it's kind of like that. And in order to make it so that he can see through the mouth, they've given him this very large, like double chin.
Yeah.
But that also causes what is supposed to appear as the face to constantly kind of be looking up.
So then he has to kind of stoop to make that make sense.
Yeah.
What you end up with is John Agar like stumbling around these locations, and I think the movie's playing it like, oh, he's in pain and
They do say that.
Yeah.
It's kind of the chronic pain that's come with it is used to justify his rash decision making.
Yeah, and occasionally, like, there is a moment where he's like, I'll kill anyone who gets in my way, which comes out of nowhere, but is used to, I guess, suggest that as a monster, he'll be dangerous. But they kind of say, like, yeah, he's got, like, pain in the brain, basically. But a lot of the stumbling around also kind of reads as like John Agar couldn't see where he was going. And it's unintentionally funny when it really shouldn't be. Like, this movie definitely would have gotten a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode if it wasn't like a lost film when that show was on the air.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to really say about this movie except for something that I don't think the movie was going for, but it really like hit something in me. Alex's whole reason for pursuing this chemical compound is to develop a chemical weapon that won't affect generations to come. And I know a big part of that is coming from seeing the devastation that the atomic bombs had on multiple generations, because we would have been able to see that impact by now.
Yeah, and fallout and things.
And the fallout and stuff that's explicitly called out. But Agent Orange would have started to be used in Vietnam the year prior to this. And it's just a kind of like we say that, and yet our actions in the real world.
Sure. I do think that the nerve gas thing is one of the weakest parts of this movie for me, because
it's invisible.
Well, okay, but as much as it's like an initially interesting premise, however, like, sketchy it may be, it doesn't connect to the monster or what the monster can do at all.
Yeah.
Like, everything around what happens to Alex after he's become poisoned is like, oh, like it has darkened your skin, which they try to play off as being like something to do with a lack of oxygen, which doesn't make a lot of sense, because what they're clearly going for is a burning. Like his skin darkens and then it turns black and he looks like burnt charcoal. He's the walking charcoal man. When he touches people, it does the same thing to them. And, you know, there's a sense of like he spilt the thing on his hands, so he has like a chemical burn, etc. But like nothing about what the nerve gas does, which is paralyze you and then hypnotize you or leave you in a state of suggestion, we'll say. None of that has to do with like what the monster does.
Yeah.
Right? The monster's touch doesn't paralyze you. The monster doesn't hypnotize people. It has nothing to do with it. Like he should have been developing some sort of weapon that like burns or has something to do with burning, or rock or you know what I mean? Like there's no connection there. And that I think really hurts the movie. It also hurts the movie that like, not only does everything in this movie happen according to like a formula we've seen a million times.
Yeah.
But the only reason it happens according to that formula is sort of because of the formula. Like why Alex just immediately goes into like, okay, burn down the lab, destroy all the evidence, go on the run mode is like he does it so quickly that like, in a better written movie, it would suggest that he's done this before, like that this is his standard response to stress or something.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Ramsey, and Ramsey's like, okay, well, 2 people are dead. It is an accident, but like, okay. And you've got like a bad, horrible condition that's resulted from like this failed experiment. Let's phone the police and get you to a hospital. And he's like, no, I won't be stuck in a room like an animal. And then he's like, instead, I need to stay here with you in this room, secret. Don't tell anyone I'm here. Develop a serum for me. And like later on, when he's escaped and he's the full monster and he's on the run, you know, Tom's like talking to Carol and he's like, we can't phone the police. Like he can't be locked away like an animal. And it's like, what are you guys
talking about?
What are you talking about? Like,
yeah, it's, as you said, following the formula despite the way that it would, like, that the story would actually benefit from.
Yeah.
Like, if it went away from it. As well as, like, okay, you have a chemical burn. Why don't you just have, like, a bath in, like, a solution that is designed to get that compound off you?
Well, he washes his hands with some different chemical to neutralize it. We see that happen. But yeah, this whole reaction to the like entire situation, it's just there so that the story doesn't end early by having any of the characters be reasonable, right?
Yeah.
Which is always really aggravating to see in a movie.
Very much. Yeah, we've kind of like talked about every aspect. I do just want to call out that like none of the actors, including John Agar, are really good at all. No
one's aggressively bad, but
no one's aggressively bad. Carol comes close, I will say. But the guy who's playing Dr. Ramsey has real, like, I think I would cast him to play Dr. Scott in Rocky Horror. Like, just the way he delivers lines, like, I don't know. It felt very like, are you doing something, or are people riffing off of you and other characters you've done because of the way that you're delivering lines?
I think he's just playing a stock character. A lot of what these people are is that, as Sarah pointed out, there's some effort on the writing to make them more than stock characters. It's using this kind of bickering that the actors are not up to making
charming.
Yeah, so it just comes off as everyone's a jerk.
Yeah. Let's move on to ranking.
For sure. So I'm looking way down near the bottom of the list, Sarah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I also started looking near the bottom of the list. So for context, we currently have 313 movies on the list. And I felt that, like, you know, some movies, like The Snow Creature, that's all the way bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Hand of Death is necessarily that bad. Also kind of making it a little bit difficult here is down here is where we have a lot of the shorts, particularly from Méliès. But I wanted to call out at one point, in order to throw the police off the trail of where Alex is, Dr. Ramsey suggests that they lie to the cops saying that Alex is wandering the desert or whatever. And you made a joke about, the Beast of Yucca Flats.
Yes.
So the Beast of Yucca Flats is currently ranked at number 295. I do feel like Hand of Death is better made rather than Beast of Yucca Flats. And because that movie, like, it just has voiceover, like, because they didn't even have any sound equipment. Hand of Death is at least trying to be a movie, you know?
I don't know if it succeeded, but I'll agree with your premise that it's trying.
So I kind of made that my floor. The Naked Witch is also right here, and that also, you know, has a more interesting premise, but struggles in making the baddie actually scary.
Right.
With that as my floor, I started to look up, and not too far up is Attack of the Giant Leeches at number 289. That is a real soft spot in my heart. Open up my chest and you'll just find a giant leech. So I don't know how I feel about putting Hand of Death above that, but I will admit that, you know, Attack of the Giant Leeches isn't necessarily good, but I would definitely not put Hand of Death above 274, which is Woman Eater from 1958. We covered that in episode 230. That's where the cannibal trees are being used to try to create a serum to bring back the dead.
Yeah. What a weird fucking movie.
Yeah. But it had, like, you know, that's like, what kind of premise, which feels a bit more unique and, I don't want to say innovative, but like off the wall than what we have in Hand of Death. So my range ultimately is from 274 to 294.
Okay. My range was such that I do think on a technical level, this movie's better made than The Naked Witch, but I think The Naked Witch is actually more interesting to watch, and has like more interesting ideas going into it just on a much, much lower budget. So I actually like Naked Witch better than this, and my range was 295 to and below. My range was 295 and below. My ceiling was Naked Witch, which means that the overlap spot between our two ranges would put this above Beast of Yucca Flats and below Naked Witch.
Honestly, I would be fine with that.
Cool. Then I think that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Coming into the list at the new number 295 is Hand of Death from 1962, directed by Gene Nelson. So not the worst we've ever seen.
Yeah, not the worst.
Confirmed.
Demonstrably so. If you would like to see this list, you can go to our website, screamscenepodcast.com. There you can find links to the other episodes that we have mentioned today, as well as our appeals box. If you would like to contest this or any other ranking, feel free to drop us a line through our Ask box on Tumblr. You can reach out over email at screamscenepodcast@gmail.com, reach out through our Patreon, or over Blue Sky.
Scream Scene updates every other Wednesday. We upload on SoundCloud. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can make sure that you never miss an episode by subscribing to our RSS feed. And you can help support the show by sharing us around online, by telling people about us, by leaving us a rating or a review on whatever podcasting app you use to listen to us, or by heading on over to our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Scream Scene Podcast, where you can become a patron of the night for as little as $1 a month. Patrons at the $5 and $10 levels get access to cool bonus content that we make. So if you want to see things like Sarah's latest audiobook, for instance, or hear the interview with me about the Phantom of the Opera screening that I mentioned at the top of the episode, you can head on over to patreon.com/Scream Scene Podcast.
So Ben, what are we watching next week?
Well, Sarah, presuming that I can find English subtitles for it, next week we will be watching our very first Egyptian horror film. It is Al-Qasir El-Maloon, or The Cursed Palace.
Fascinating. Yeah, Egypt doesn't really have a film industry, right?
Kind of the opposite. Egypt is the only Arab country that has like a film industry.
Yeah, cool. I'm getting the reverse mixed up in my head. Yeah, cool. Well, I look forward to explaining why that is.
Yes, basically. So hopefully I can find a version with English subtitles in time. And we will see you then, Creatures of the Night.
Bye.
Bye.